all the big awards.
5:30.
5:30, okay.
It just rhymed with more.
Right, I'll see you in a minute. Now, did you know that Ireland has one of the highest rates of esophageal cancer in the world? And because of late diagnosis, a survival rate of just 10% is the norm. Now, I'm joined, of course, by John Reynolds, and also who is with us this week is Keith Hoff, who has suffered, or Chris Hoff, I should say, who has suffered, but is very, very good today. You had esophageal cancer.
Yes, I did.
I believe last year, was it?
Yes, so it was last year. It started in, the diagnosis was given at the end of May, and treatment went on through the summer, and finally I had my surgery at the start of September.
I'm going to take you back a little bit because obviously a lot of people watching today, number one, would be shocked that it's such a big killer here in this country, and also the fact that a lot of people wouldn't realise. Take us back to how you found out or how you started worrying in the beginning.
Well, initially for me, it was difficulty swallowing, which it would maybe take 10 or 15 seconds for the food to go down, where normally it might be a bit hard to go down in 1 or 2 seconds, but this was lasting 10 to 15 seconds, and then I couldn't burp as well. So these problems, you know, were continuing for a month or so, and then
what did you do? Did you?
I was quietly worrying. I wasn't really saying anything.
You didn't go to the doctor though?
No, I didn't. Initially, I started doing my own research on the internet, as you do, and I sort of thought that maybe, perhaps I have esophageal cancer, and my wife walked in and she found me looking on the internet, and I was actually mortified, to be honest, that she was finding me worried, and she persuaded me in the end to go to the doctor, thankfully.
But of course, you know, you have a young family, a wife and little boy, and you were probably real worried. You didn't want to worry them.
That's true, I didn't want to.
Okay, so you went to the doctor and straight away you were into treatment, were you, very quickly?
Yeah, I went to the doctor, and the doctor referred me to a gastroenterologist, and later, 5 or 6 months later, I returned to that GP, and I thanked him for his referral, and what he did tell me was, if you have any swallowing problems, it's very, very serious, and you should get it seen to straight away.
Okay, so you had radiotherapy?
And chemotherapy initially, and a 4-week break, then another week of chemotherapy, and then 4 to 5 week break to regain my strength for the surgery that was in the beginning of September.
And when you had the surgery, did you have a piece of your esophagus removed? Is that what it was?
Yeah, I believe it was half of my esophagus and a third of my stomach, because the tumour was at the base of the esophagus.
Yeah. Thank God you were caught on time. I mean, that's the most important thing.
Yes, when I heard that I had cancer, you know, obviously it was a big shock to the system, but the words of hope for a cure were the relief was there more than the shock of having cancer. So
and you're not in remission, they got it all.
Yeah, well, thankfully, you know, it's still, you know, still not out of the woods yet, but we're hoping and praying.
You're young. What age are you now?
I'm 30.
Yeah. Professor John Reynolds is with us as well, and 30 is a very young age, isn't it, to get esophageal cancer?
It is very young. I mean, the average age for somebody who presents with esophageal cancer would be about 65, so it's very rare in young people. What Chris's case highlights is how it typically presents with food sticking, and how important it is for anybody who has that symptom to pursue it, as Chris did himself, but or pursue it through their doctor, to have the camera test and the diagnosis made.
Okay. What exactly is esophageal cancer?
Well, the esophagus is, you know, when we swallow, the start of the swallow, the esophagus starts just behind the windpipe, and it runs behind the heart and lungs in the chest, and then it joins on to the stomach.
So all our food goes through it? All
your food goes through it, and it's an awkward place. It's behind the heart and lungs, and so any treatment for it, including the surgery that Chris had, is quite complex, because the surgery has to remove the esophagus, but also replace it with something else, and we use the stomach to replace it. So therefore, he has to have his stomach operated on and his chest operated on, and sometimes some patients have to have their neck operated on. So it's a very complex treatment and difficult treatment, and Chris's story really articulates that it's a difficult cancer to face and a difficult one to treat.
Okay, you talked about the symptoms that you had there, Chris. Chris had difficulty swallowing, but heartburn is another symptom.
Well, one of the things that's been realised in recent years is that we see about 400 cases in Ireland a year more of esophageal cancer, and about 100 of those are random. There's no reason why it happened, and Chris might have fallen into that category. It's just one of these things that happens, and there's nothing you could do to prevent it. about 100 are due to cigarettes, and about 200 are due to something about reflux or our diet. And one aspect of the diet is obviously the obesity problem we have. The reflux issue is that patients who have very severe reflux or very chronic reflux.
Is reflux that something
Reflux
that
is
repeats on you?
heartburn.
Is it
yeah.
heartburn, reflux?
Yeah, so it's
Okay.
heartburn, indigestion, or food repeating on you.
Yeah.
And for the vast majority of people with reflux, there's nothing wrong. There definitely isn't cancer.
Okay. But let's
it
just
should
take
be
a look
treated.
at this, because we're taking a
Sure.
little look at the risk factors here. You can just look in front of you there on the
Oh,
screen.
sure.
And Barrett's esophagus, is that something that's related directly to heartburn?
Yeah, some people who have reflux, particularly if it's severe over some time, have, when you look at the esophagus through a camera and endoscopy, you will find that there's changes there that you can identify, and that's called Barrett's esophagus.
Okay.
And the value of knowing if somebody has Barrett's esophagus is this, because you might, even though it's not cancer, those patients have a risk of developing cancer, and if you can keep those patients properly treated, but more importantly, properly monitored, you might be able to prevent cancer in that population of patients. Or if they're unlucky enough to develop a cancer, it might be caught at a very early stage, and one that can be cured, and one that often can be cured with much simpler and less complex treatments than what Chris had to endure.
Now, Chris led a very healthy lifestyle,
Yeah.
very young. So really, he was very atypical of the type of
Yes.
person that would present with the symptoms that would lead to this.
That's right.
But let's take a look at what we can do here. I mean, what you spoke already about smoking is, stop smoking, don't drink so much, and a bad diet.
That's right. So never smoke or give it up.
Right.
People should be aware of then diet and obesity and the association of all of that, particularly in Ireland and the West, United States, Britain, and cancers, including esophageal cancer. And there's a lot that we can do through education and even what you do, what you've done yourself.
And food as well. You were
With
talking
food.
about food.
Well, bad food relates to the obesity problem we have. So an awareness of good food and the health benefits of food is very important, as well as tackling obesity.
Yeah, I was just looking at certain vegetables like broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, kale, cabbage. They
Yeah,
would
you've some
help.
of them in front of you. More.
Yes,
The interesting thing
yeah.
about these is some of these vegetables and plant foods in particular that have been around and valued for many, many years in different traditions for medicinal and health reasons. We now realize that some of them have real health benefits, including some anti-cancer properties, particularly the ones that are interesting are green tea, turmeric, curcumin, the cruciferous vegetables like broccoli and cauliflower. And all of those have what I would call some interesting properties that we know from laboratory studies in particular of anti-cancer properties that might be important.
Of course, turmeric was in the news recently
Yeah,
as
it
well.
was,
But it's
yeah,
funny
yeah.
when you think about it, because these are ingredients that a lot of people are foods that, say, the Eastern societies would have used for many, many years, and we seem to be just catching up in that way now.
Well, but they're valued in the East, and the point is that in the East, in China, India, Japan, the instance of a lot of the cancers that we see in the West is about 1/10. And so there may be some very important aspects of that we could take on board.
Okay. Well, Chris is a model here for people who actually, okay, first of all, you did, I suppose, shy away a bit and look it up on the internet
Yes.
first, but at least you took action immediately. And I guess that is what you would say to everyone, Professor, is go as quickly as possible to your GP and have the test done.
Absolutely. Any evidence of food sticking, immediately. Severe
yeah.
heartburn also that's chronic and difficult to treat, have that checked out as well.
Okay. Well, Friday is Lollipop Day. This is very, very important for Oesophageal Cancer Fund. So you can buy these lollipops for a couple of euro each, which is really, really great to support.
And I've also been asked to say they're having a big event in Stephen's Green on Friday at lunchtime, I think 1 o'clock, a wall of lollipops, and
Okay.
the organisers of the Oesophageal Cancer Fund asked me to point it out to your viewers. All are welcome to attend.
Okay, we wish you all the best.
Well, thank you very
And
much.
thanks a million for coming in and sharing your story with us, and thank you very much as well, Professor, for
Thank you.
telling everyone. Of course, the information that we spoke about today, it is on our website. You can take a look at that, and do, if you have anyone in your family or if you're worried yourself, please go ahead, go to your GP as soon as possible. You can also take a look at our Airtel page 340, and all the details are there. Shana.